Hello and welcome to livealittlehigher.com. Today we continue on a learning of living happy with the Hasidic approach to joy by Rabbi Shlomo Majewski. Last week we were speaking about two different feelings of sadness. One it's called atzvus and the other one is called merirus. And these are merirus, and these are two words that are used in the Hasidic learning. And they are similar, but they're not similar. Like each one of these feelings will take you to a very different place. So let's look at them a little more in depth and understand more what they mean. So atzvus is perpetuous itself. It's the feeling of depression, and it continues for a long time. So it's a feeling of drowning, of falling into a black hole, not being able to see a light, not being able to feel that you can get out of it. And merirus is a feeling bad. It's also, you feel bad, but it's temporary. It's not something that gets bigger every day. The positive drive it brings produces active feelings of achievement in a very short time. So as we said last week, atzvus is depression, and merirus is bitterness, and it's two different feelings. So for example, if a person does something that was not right, like you said something stupid to somebody, it happens to everybody. You said the wrong thing to the wrong person and you're red in your face. So these two reactions would be, one would be a person that would say, oh, how stupid I am, I'm always saying the wrong things, or how stupid can I be, I can never get it right, I'm always doing the same thing, I'm terrible, I'm such a bad person, I shouldn't be living in this world, it's not worth it for me to be here, I'm always saying wrong things and making other people feel bad, I'm so stupid. This is atzvus, and it will not take you anywhere healthy. It's gonna make you feel worse. And then merirus would be, oh, how stupid of me, how could I ever said that, I really have a long tongue, I'm always saying these things, I should become more conscious, I have to become more mindful, I have to learn how to speak, I have to learn how to think before I speak, I should train myself to say nice things to people always and not be saying stupid stuff, and I should really maybe take a course on speech. This would be merirus. It's a person that, yes, he feels horrible, he feels terrible that he said what he said, but he's looking for a solution to correct the problem. So then atzvus is not directed towards a practical solution. It's never looking for a solution. It is not a means to an end. It is an end in itself. One becomes satisfied thinking about how terrible everything is. So the person that suffers from atzvus, in a certain way, he feels good about it, about feeling that way. Merirus, by contrast, is future-oriented and focuses on a solution in the future. It's always looking forward. The person asks himself, what can I do to correct this problem? He's always aware and looking how he can become better. Atzvus leads a person to be more withdrawn and self-concerned. It's more egocentrical because he's only thinking about himself. He's not thinking about the other person. He's not thinking about, oh, I said this to this person, I'm gonna call them up, I'm gonna ask forgiveness, I feel so bad I said that to them, they must have felt horrible. No, he's thinking about himself all the time, how stupid I am, how could I ever say that, I'm so stupid. It's me, 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 me. And the contrast, the merirus, is more dynamic, and it allows a person to think about others. So it's gonna say, how could I ever say that to that person? He must have felt horrible. Oh, I feel so bad for them. How could I say that? I'm gonna call them up. I have to make amends. So there are many ramifications of the difference between these two approaches. For example, a suggestion was one made to remember the 6 million Jews that died in the Holocaust, and the suggestion was that in every Seder table there should be an empty chair to remember one of those Holocaust victims every Pesach, and to have an empty chair in the table. So when you're having a Seder, you can remember the people we've lost. And the Lubavitcher Rebbe was completely against this approach. He said, first of all, Pesach is a holiday, and when it's a time of a holiday, it's not a time to mourn. It's forbidden. It's more, my grandmother passed away Erev Pesach, right before Passover, the morning before Passover, and she was buried before Passover, and my father sat Shiva for, I don't know, 1 hour or 2 hours, and then they got up. They didn't have to sit Shiva for the 7 days because it was Passover, so they were exempt. So imagine if this is how the religion looks at mourning in a time of a holiday, the more so you're not going to put an empty chair in a Seder table, which is a day of rejoicing, and be crying because of people that we've lost. So it's not the good time for that. Everything has its moment and its time. But the Rebbe did give a solution. He didn't leave it there. He said, instead of leaving an empty chair, why don't you invite a person that would not be in a Seder otherwise? Like, there's so many people, so many Jews that today are not sitting in a Seder. It could be your neighbor. It could be a friend of one of your sons or your daughters. It can be anybody. So if you can do it, yes, put an extra chair in your Seder table, but look for a person or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or as many as you can have that would not be in a Seder table that night. Because the biggest Holocaust there exists is really assimilation. It takes more Jews than what the Holocaust took away from us. So the Rebbe had an approach that instead of having our thinking about the loss of the 6 million Jews result in an empty chair, he wanted that the emotion aroused be directed to a positive purpose. And this is Merirus. This is what it means. Is when you have something that would make you go down and be sad, instead of going that route, yes, dwell on it for a little bit. You have to have the emotion, you have to deal with it. But instead of drowning, look for something productive that can come out of your pain. And we see it today. We see people that go through tremendous pain, either the loss of a child or a divorce or whatever it can be, and you see that they make institutions and they help people and they make foundations and they make programs, and all this goodness comes out of something that could be like the end of your life. So here the Rebbe says, take a Jew who is alive today and is on the way to total assimilation. Instead of dwelling on what we've lost, try to save what's still here. And the Rebbe also said, do not focus on the pain you are feeling because of your errors. Transform that pain into positive and productive energy. Reach out to another person and share your insights with him. So he was very much into telling people to always look for productivity. Be productive in your pain. Don't let it sink you. If it's there, make something out of it. You know the famous saying, if you have lemons, make lemonade. What you have, make make the best of what you have. And my aunt always says, and put some sugar in it also, so it's sweet. So this is the approach of Merirus, and to be an effective tool in spurring us to improve our conduct, it cannot be left to spontaneity. So it's not something that comes out of nowhere. We have to train ourselves for that. And he says here, personal growth depends on a person controlling his feelings, and that control does not happen spontaneously. We have to train ourselves. It's like going to the gym and training every day and lifting the weight so the muscle will come out. It's the same way. We have to train ourselves. And we cannot let these bad feelings and bad thoughts haunt us every day. But Hasidut teaches that there's propitious times for this, and that we should have something that is called Heshbon HaNefesh, which literally means making an accounting of the soul. It is proper to do it. So when is it proper? Every day before you go to sleep, you should think, how was my day? How did I perform today? Was I up to who I am? Is there things in my personality that were not so good today, that I should look upon them, I should correct them, I should check on them. Was it a day that was worth living? How can I be better tomorrow than that I am today? And we should have 5 minutes every day before going to sleep with these types of thoughts. He says another time that is auspicious is at the end of the week before Shabbat, or at the end of the month before the new month, also on the month of Elul, which is the month in which we do Teshuvah before the high holidays. And this is our auspicious times for that. We have to give them a date. And my teacher, Shimona Zukernik, she says that she had a woman that was always very depressed, very anxious, and she always had very bad thoughts in her head, and she was going crazy. And she said to her, you know what? Give them a date, give them an appointment. Every day for 1 minute, you're allowed to have those thoughts. 1 minute a day. Give them one time, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And she said to her, a week later, how did it go? She says, you know what? I was going crazy. 1 minute of conscious thinking of negative thoughts can kill you, because it's conscious, because you're aware, you're sitting there listening to them. It's very hard. But when you allow your mind to go crazy and run wild, and allow it to bring everything inside of your head, and you're not mindful, then it's gonna take over all day, and you can handle it. But give it 1 minute, and you won't be able to handle it. So in conclusion, from this chapter of growing from pain, we can come with very good ideas on how to manage our thoughts and our negativity. So one is that we should dismiss all negative thoughts from our mind if they bring us to depression. But if we are bitter about them, if we feel that we need to change, then we should contemplate these thoughts, but only at allotted times. We should not let them take over our day, because we should be productive human beings. We are here in this world to bring action. And if you're in your office thinking about all this negativity all day, it's gonna not allow you to be a productive person. So even though you wanna be a better human being and you really are looking for solutions, you should give it at an allotted time. And we said the best time is before going to sleep, and I said what I said before. So the giving of the time is a very, very important point here. And but when we're working, or we're praying, or we're doing something, we should be concentrated in what we're doing, in our action. And at all times, we should be in control. We are master of our emotions and our actions, and we should bring the undesirable matter to our attention when we want to, and deal with it in the way we know best. This is productive approach. If this is the way to live a life in which we're productive and proactive, and this is a way in which we live a little higher. Thank you.